Hello everybody, welcome to Savage Ink Studios. I'm your host Ink, and today's Sketchbook Storytime is about the unforgivable thing that my sister did to my bird. In advance, I want to apologize. I am not sure if I can stretch this story out an entire 20 minutes, and with this picture you can see I drew it off screen, I inked it off screen, and it still took me a long time to color it. So even sped up 8 times, this video is 20 minutes long. So if I cannot stretch this video or this story into a 20-minute story, then I'll just have to come up with something at the end. And I'll just throw in some dramatic pauses for effect or something. Okay, so here's the story. Once upon a time, long ago, I actually ran an exotic pet rescue. Now, it started off as a reptile rescue until people just started dropping off random animals. I remember going into my building one morning and someone had left a duffel bag in front of the rescue door. And it was moving. And I'm just like, ah, crap. What now? So, I bring it in and I open it up and 5 giant fuzzy noodles just jump out and scatter in 5 different directions, and my sister's running around helping me catch them. Ferrets. Someone dropped off a duffel bag full of ferrets in front of the rescue. So after so many incidences of this, I gave up on the reptile specific because people were just going to keep on dropping off stuff, and I might as well be prepared. Because for those ferrets, I actually had to turn my walk-in closet where I kept my filing cabinets into a ferret enclosure, and it's just easier to already be prepared. So, of all of the animals that came into the rescue, we got a few birds. And some of them were, just birds, like canaries or whatever. But one of the birds that came into the rescue, we'll call her Moses, because she did come with a boy name. I don't think that the people who had her and named her originally knew that she was a girl, but she did eventually start laying eggs. But by then, she already knew her name, so you can't change it. So, Moses came to us with serious anxiety issues. I mean, she plucked her feathers out, and she would scream. 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the morning, every single morning, whether you let her out and held her, whether you covered her cage, whether you gave her treats, it didn't matter. There was nothing that you could do. From 4 to 6 o'clock in the morning, she would just scream so loud that you could hear it down the block. It was so crazy. But she also, had a problem with plucking her feathers. I'm actually going to pull up a picture of her for you guys. There she is. There's Moses. Isn't she cute? So, Moses was an incredibly smart bird. She spoke very well for a bird, and it was funny. She was kind of tricky, too, because when she came to the rescue, she bonded with me very quickly. On the ride home, bonded with me and just did not want to be separated from me and was really aggressive towards everybody else. Finger-breaking aggressive, so everyone knew, don't touch her. And she was jealous, and she talked, if you tried to give her something to eat that she didn't want, she'd say, no, I want this. Not taking that. People would walk in to check out animals for adoption, and she'd stick her claw through the cage, and she'd like make a come hither movement with her claw and say, come here, I won't hurt you. And of course people want to run over and be like, oh my god, a talking bird. I'm like, no, don't touch her. She will bite you. She's lying to you. and people are just like, it's a bird. It doesn't have the capacity to lie. I'm like, do you want to lose a finger? Trust me, she is lying to you. She will bite your finger off. So, sorry, I lost track of thought for a second. God, I wish I knew how to edit the audio on these things so I could cut out my screw-up so you guys didn't have to listen to me ramble like an idiot. So, my sister was very helpful within the rescue. You know, I got maybe 4 hours of sleep a night most nights because I was working 3 jobs to keep this rescue running. I mean, vet bills are insane, and feeding over 300 animals is insane, and it's just a very costly business to run, which is ultimately why it failed. But during the time that it was running and functional, my sister helped out so much. I mean, she'd help me clean and feed as long as it wasn't the snakes, because she wasn't gonna touch a dead mouse, God forbid. You know, you can hold the tarantula, but she's not gonna touch a dead mouse. Okay. And she got really attached. I mean, that was another one of the issues. You know, running an animal rescue, a huge part of what you do is, you know, after you get them vet checked and, you know, make sure that they're healthy, the ultimate goal is to find them homes with people who are going to love them. And my sister would get so attached. And, I mean, who wouldn't get attached being around a talking bird regularly, because it's just a spectacular thing to see? And so she loved Moses very much, but Moses was not her biggest fan. I mean, I can only think of 2 people really who Moses was okay with even being pet by, who weren't me, and even then it was iffy. It depended on the day. And my sister wanted this bird to love her so badly, and Moses just didn't love her. I mean, no matter what she did, treats or telling her that she was a pretty bird, or it didn't matter. I mean, Moses didn't like her. But it wasn't a hateful relationship. It was just a, no, I don't want to be around you, don't touch me relationship. Until my sister made a terrible, terrible mistake. And it cost her dearly. As I said, Moses had some serious anxiety issues, and we were giving her medication and chamomile and whatever we could to try and make her stop breaking all of her feathers off. You know, we were worried she was going to end up really hurting herself. And she had been getting better, but, you know, she would lapse from time to time, like we all do. And after a rough night where she had pulled out some of her feathers, my sister was walking by her cage and commented, "Oh wow, she kind of looks like a plucked chicken." And Moses lost her damn mind. I mean, screaming that scream that she would do early in the morning, just so loud that it made you feel like your eardrums were gonna pop. Screaming and cursing at my sister, and I don't know why she would think to do that. Because obviously, if this bird speaks, she understands a certain amount of English, or can at least tell with the inflection in her voice whether or not she's being insulted. But clearly, Moses knew that this was not a kind statement. And it didn't. Again, my sister had wanted Moses to like her anyway, but now, I mean, Moses hated her. I mean, would curse every time that she walked into the building. And my sister tried for a long time to redeem herself, but it didn't matter. It was unforgivable. Moses hated her. And she hated her up until the business shut down and I had to find another rescue for her to go to, just because if you're going to be moving all these animals into an apartment, that cannot include an animal that screams loud enough for an entire city block to hear her from 4 to 6 in the morning. It's just, you're gonna get kicked out no matter where you are. If you're living in an apartment with other people living above or below you and people living in buildings next to you, there's just, you have to own a home if you're going to have a bird that screams like that. And it broke my heart. There were some animals that ended up staying with me longer, that I was able to take longer to find homes for, because they're quiet, and they're not going to have an effect on you being in an apartment. But Moses had to go to another rescue, and I still actually, check up on her, because I loved that bird so much, and it broke my heart to have to, pass her along. But again, that's also part of doing a rescue. At this point now, I only have 2 exotics as pets in my home. I have a big green macaw who is relatively quiet. He might yell for a minute if I'm leaving the house, or God forbid I try and talk on the phone, because he just doesn't like me talking on the phone for some reason. I cannot fathom why, but if I pick up a phone, he's got something to say about it. But for the most part, he's relatively quiet. And I have a boa constrictor. Maybe I'll pull up pictures of them in another video, because I'm sure there are so many stories about the rescue to be told, not just this one. I just thought this was fitting because, it's a dragon with feathery wings and the unforgivable thing that my sister did to my bird. So this is the story we're going with this time. But honestly, if I ever hit the lottery, which, let's be honest, wouldn't happen because I don't play, because I can't afford to waste money on lottery tickets. But if I did, I would definitely want to open an exotics rescue again, because it was the most rewarding thing that I'd ever done in my life. I mean, barely ever sleeping and just working constantly, whether it be working to feed and clean and take care of these animals, or working the jobs that you have to work to afford to do all that. It's just a really, really satisfying thing to do. And I don't think I've ever found something in my life that felt the way that it did. Obviously I enjoy art, clearly. And art's a nice hobby to have. It's not always cheap. And if you're an artist, you know exactly what I mean. It's not always cheap, but you don't have to work 3 jobs to support being an artist. So, my true passion, and I mentioned this in my Disney horror story time, finding this little lizard in Florida and being told, no, you can't take it home, so going home and crying to my mom, they wouldn't let me keep it, and her telling me, well, I'll get you one, started all of this. I mean, I was born into a house where my dad had a snake briefly, but it passed away before I was even 3 years old. So I don't know how much that would have really stuck with me if I hadn't ended up with another young reptile experience that I could cognitively remember. But this Florida moment inspired me. People don't appreciate reptiles in a general way that people appreciate cats and dogs, and it always just bothered me. I wanted people to love them the way that I love them, and during the time I was doing the rescue, I would go to schools and educate kids about exotic pets, the good and the bad. If you walk into a pet store and you're like, oh, look at this little boa, it's so cute, I want to take it home, but it's a baby and it's only 10 inches long, I want to be the one to tell them, that's great that you like them and that you're not scared, but you do know how big these guys get, right? Like, you can't just get a 10-gallon tank and take this thing home and expect it to stay that size. Boa constrictors get very, very big. Are you prepared to take a bite from an adult-sized boa constrictor? Are you prepared to have the space to house one of these guys? You have to respect what they're going to become. And doing the rescue and going to schools and teaching kids about these incredible animals, and seeing some of them start off so scared, but the more you talk and the more you explain how incredible these animals are, seeing some of them, come out of that fear, and all of a sudden they want to hold the giant 9-foot snake. Like, forget the corn snakes, those are for sissies, I want to hold a big one. And watching people's eyes open to These animals are not what so many people think they are. I have seen grown, buff men with tattoos all over their bodies shriek like little girls and run to the other side of the road when I'm walking down the street with my snake. But their adorable 6-year-old daughters are like, "Daddy, can I pet it?" And I don't understand the stigma. I mean, I understand the concept, the philosophy behind, once upon a time, snakes, spiders, lightning, the dark, these could all mean death. But we are not cavemen anymore. And I think that the fear of snakes as a general statement is just so sad, Yes, have a respect for nature. And if you live in an area where snakes are venomous, of course, be careful. But this crazy irrational fear where people just want to smash baby garter snakes with shovels is ridiculous. I mean, it's 3 inches long and it's non-venomous. What is it gonna do to you? You really scared of something that can't even fit its mouth around your finger? Come on. These are grown men we're talking about. Terrified. Terrified of little baby snakes. And teaching kids that this is not the way it needs to be was just an awesome experience for me. So, yes, I've gone off on very much of a tangent, but like I said, I gotta fill up this 20 minutes somehow. And this was a huge part of my life. So, I think we're coming up on the end of the video now. I probably should have rewatched it really quick before I started recording the audio. Oh, nope. Gotta do that one too. So, continuing on with really rewarding experience, and if any of you guys out there ever have an opportunity to even work for a rescue, I mean, if you love animals, it's a great thing to do. And as far as reptile rescuing goes, there's not a whole lot of people out there who do reptiles or exotic animals specifically, because they're the world's unloved creatures. But that's kind of why they need it even more than, there are cat and dog sanctuaries everywhere. A whole bunch of them in most areas. Reptiles and exotics specifically need that because people don't love them the same. And it's very sad. So, this is me encouraging you. Open your eyes to the possibility that the spiders and the scorpions and the snakes, I mean, just because they're not super cute and cuddly doesn't mean that they're not worth loving. And they are. I mean, to be honest, the cockatoos and the macaws are actually harder to deal with on a regular basis than a snake. A snake will just sit in its tank and chill, or sit on your shoulder and chill. I mean, at least with the birds, they seem to be more temperamental and more quick to snap one day and just, they could tear your gosh darn finger off. It's crazy. And I'm not saying, don't love birds, be afraid of birds. You have to be significantly more careful with large exotic birds than you do with most types of snake. So, we're putting our fears. We shouldn't be afraid of animals. We should respect them and educate ourselves on them. Doing the rescue, I asked myself, every animal that I took in, am I willing to get bitten by this thing when it is fully grown? Granted, I never had an animal that I was not prepared to be, I could lose an arm to this thing, I'm okay with that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my sketchbook. I hope you enjoyed my story time. Sorry my timing was way off. See you guys in the next one.